Well, I'm Michelle Bednar. I'm currently the controller. I've been there for 8 years now. Our office mainly we do auditing, and we've been auditing anything that handles county funds. We have many different directions we look at. I wasn't prepared for this, so I didn't know I had an open statement. But ask me questions. I'd rather if you can ask me questions.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us what, some of the highlights of the last 4 years, as far as your office goes and some of the work you've done.
Well, the past 8 years would be.
Yeah, well, if you want to go back.
Well, I'm just saying, like, through all our audits that we do in our office is all online. Everything's transparent, so everyone sees any kind of audit that we have done, except for anything that's confidential, which would be the DA's office. That one is not public knowledge. We audit the prison. We did an audit for the dental audit. We had done the homestead audit was one of our largest audits that we've done. We brought back over $200,000 to the county. We audited in one of the pensions. We brought back money from someone that was overpaid. We do all the tax collectors. There's 69 tax collectors, and we've been auditing, trying to catch up with them. Anyone that leaves an office or that is new to the office, we audit them. And in doing the audits, that I had found that a lot of them are all on different pages, that they don't all do the same. The bookwork is different. So what I like to do for them, and they have to have CPE credits. They have to have 2 credits in order to be an elected tax collector. So I'm working with the state right now so that we can offer classes to the tax collectors, and that'll be on my time with them. And then that way everyone, if they have a place to, because I know myself, I was a tax collector for 5 years and I had no one to turn to. You have the other tax collectors you can ask questions to, but there was really no one to ask if you had like any questions on the reports or how to do something, or if you weren't sure about how to do a refund. That's some of the examples. I'm trying to think what else.
Well, we had your opponent, Mr. Griffith, in earlier today, or by Zoom anyway. And one of the issues that he was focused on was that the controller under the charter, is also kind of empowered to look at policies and procedures, and feels that there really hasn't been a lot of that kind of work being done during your tenure.
Well, we do that. Every time we do an audit, that's one thing you do look at, if there's any policies and procedures in place. We make suggestions. If you look at our audits that are done, they are very detailed on anything that we might say that they can't be forced from our office. We have no power to have them change anything. That is not, our duty to do that. But for instance, like the prison, there was one of the times with, I believe with their, the machine, the kiosk machine, and we put in place an example of what they should be doing, and they changed things to make it much easier for them, for the outside people depositing the money, and so the cash isn't always in hand. There's
Well, I think he was looking even beyond finances and talking about things like what's happening in children and youth and what procedures they're following. Aside from the finance of it.
Okay.
Do you see that as part of your role?
That is not part of the controller's role. Children and youth falls under mainly the state. That is nothing that I can put in place. I can't tell them how to run an office. I could look if there's any kind of, I only audit county funds. That's what I look at. That's my position. We have a staff of myself and 4 others, and we're constantly busy with different items. So I'm just saying what we do.
I got one more question there. I'm sorry. I mean, he pointed to the language in the charter, calls the controller a watchdog. And I guess is advocating kind of a more aggressive approach to the office.
Well, that is the word that's in the charter, and the charter means that, you do have to overlook, like, I'm on the airport board, for instance. I'm on that board, I don't have voting power, but I'm on the board as looking at any kind of the financials that are coming across or being paid, just to double check, and if I have questions, I can ask them. If I think something's being paid that shouldn't, or a question, or there's no detail to it, that's my main job of anything but we cannot see any kind of invoices that go out the door, so that is the controller's job of seeing any payments that go out that we have to do an audit in order to find out if it's correct or not, and if it's not, then we have to try to bring the money back.
We haven't seen you at too many county council meetings or in too many public-facing roles as controller. Now, some people criticize that, and some people say, well, that's how it should be. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that. Is that deliberate on your part, or do you just kind of keep it
I have been
going?
at all the county meetings prior to, like, with the pandemic that came out. I'm online all the time, watching the meetings. I don't miss it. Maybe I miss one or two, if that. But I'm there at all. Every time when we were at the meetings, I was there. I was always there. But there is no role for the position of the controller to be at the, I don't have to be at, I have to only be at the meeting for twice, is during budget time, and then I have to do an annual report. That's the only time I have to actually be at the meetings according to the charter.
Let me give you a hypothetical, if you don't mind. As I'm sure you know, last year, it was actually Walter who proposed this, to have you in the controller's office investigate the jail, the policies and procedures of the jail in light of the Mackey incident, where the inmate had an encounter with the guards that some people say led to his death. Now, council voted that down, but let's just say for the sake of argument, the council approved that, and they came to you the next day and said, hey, guess what? Last night we approved for you to do this investigation, go get it. Now, would you have tried to pursue something along those lines, or would you have said, this is not in my purview?
Well, I would say that is not the controller's purview of it, but I would also say that, I do know someone there had mentioned they wanted to give money to do that, but you would have to bring outside people that has expertise. I wouldn't have the expertise of knowing what the regulations are of that position of what had happened that day, or in the time period of that. So pretty much that would be something that should have been, like, outside. That is not the controller's position to do that.
What do you think you learned in your first 8 years on the job that you might be able to put into practice to help you going forward the next 4 years?
Well, just like different things, like I said, we put the Cecil hotline in, that people call, like it's confidential, that it's for anything that waste or any kind of fraud. We do get some tips. Some tips, matter of fact, might not pertain to the controllers, like that we could do anything. So maybe it would pertain to a municipality or something else, and we would just forward that. That's one thing that sometimes makes you alert of what maybe you should look into next. And then I think, like with our office now, what we're doing is we're putting in place, working with the state to do training classes for the tax collectors will be a large help. I mean, we learned a lot because when I came into office, the office wasn't set up for auditing. There was maybe one auditor or so in that office because it was all accounts payable. And when that moved, I had to restructure it. I took my staff, we met with all the county departments. We learned what all their daily operations were. I met with the Auditor General's office, Auditor General's office, and then his staff helped how we should be in place of the audits moving forward and the positions that we should have.
So how many audits have you conducted? How many different departments or divisions over the years?
I don't know the total number, but they're all online, and you can come in my office and you can see them. They're posted, the hard copies, the original copies are posted on bulletin board. You can go on my webpage. They're all listed, and like I said, the only ones that can't see are the question is the DA's office.
How involved is the process of doing an audit of a county department?
It matters. It matters what type of audit it is. It's just like when you need like when you do, like say the let me think of an audit we can do. If we did a faster audit, could be like something like with the healthcare, like if we had to go in, like we did the dental, like finding out, you get all the research of all the names and everything like that, see who has in payments and who's on the roll, who maybe wasn't on the roll. That one, you know, takes a while, but nowhere near as long as maybe when you do a tax collector audit. I'm just using that one because we just recently did one, but that one, you know, you might have some of their files, you might not have them all, then you have to question and ask for more, then you have to find out. So it's like a research game, pretty much like when you guys do your job of that. You might have to research, might take you a little longer, or maybe a story putting together than.
What is how many employees are in your you supervise?
4.
Are they all auditors?
Mm-hmm. That's all the office is. Audit and compliance we do. So we could do a compliance audit, that would be a faster audit.
And what's the size of your budget? And are you satisfied with the size of your budget and the number of employees in your department?
Well, I would, like anyone else, I would always love more employees because you could do more with more, but you know, you don't want to overspend. And we have the smallest budget in the entire county. It's like I think it's 272, something like that. And that's with the salaries and very little doing our CPE credits. We have to do those. You need 80 credits every 2 years. And we have, you know, just your supplies. We have a small budget because we don't have a car or anything like that.
And under the old system, the controller could kind of put a hold on.
See, what the power of the controller before was just like anywhere else you would go. We're very unique. I go to these conferences. We're the only county that the controller does not do like a pre-post of what is being paid out the door.
So that was kind of the hammer that the controller had under the old system.
Correct.
So, I mean, if you go and audit something and find some issues, I mean, what's kind of your enforcement mechanism?
Well, the crazy thing is, if you look at the audit, we can, say we do an audit and we find, I'm going to do a number out there, say we find that that they owe us $5,000. Well, we could tell them that they need to pay that back, or but they don't have to do it. It's just the way the charter's written. We don't have no power to force that. We can do another audit saying it's still out there, it's not, you know, not brought back, stuff like that. There's just not enough of power that way. There's no power for the controller.
Do you feel the controller should have more power or authority?
I think there should be something that would, you know, mean more, like the auditor general has more, like, I mean, of course he's larger, he's with the state, but, you know,
So would you favor like changes in the charter to achieve that?
yeah, I would say there should be some changes to the charter.
Do you get to pick and choose, or maybe select, I should say, which departments or which entities you're going to audit in a given year or a given month?
Mm-hmm, we do. Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, again, I'm going back to the charter. The charter states that I have to do an annual report. And at the end of the annual report, I'm supposed to give you a list of what we're gonna audit. But we don't have to do anything that I tell you that we're gonna do.
If you win in November, it'll be your last term, according to the charter. Do you have any, based on that, do you have any specific goals or plans to go out with a blaze of glory?
No, at this time I don't. But my background's in banking and finance and investments, so if I had to, maybe I'd go that direction. I don't know. You never know. I never thought I would be the controller. Never thought I'd be in this position. Never thought I would have been a tax collector. So you never know where the path is going to take you.
Would you be interested in another public office?
At this time, I'm not sure if I would be or not. Really. I'm just focused on, I want to keep continuing and doing the job and doing audits that we need to get done. There's plenty of work.
With regard to tax collection, there's been a lot of talk over the years about not using the municipal tax collectors, going to an in-house system. Do you have any thoughts on that type of change?
Actually, I don't. I mean, I was always back and forth. At one time, I would say I was on a solid stance that, that the county wouldn't be able to do it. Then, looking at other counties, it works very well for them. But at this point, doing our audits, we don't have, I mean, there's a lot of tax collectors, a lot of people seem to like it, but it's like anything else, there could be change. So, in my job, whatever happens, we work, if there was less, if the county collected the taxes, that would actually, we wouldn't have so many to have to do audits on the tax collectors. So, but, I mean, I don't see a problem with it now. I mean, I'm from the public, to what I hear, there is like more pluses than minuses that they like the tax collectors. But, and I don't have an issue with them, I mean, but, I mean, it's like anything else, things could change and.
You're going to be there on Tuesday? Is that your time for the budget work session?
Me and the public defender, I believe.
How do you feel about the role of the controller as it fits into the charter? I guess to some extent you answered this when you said you wanted to have the charter amended in some ways, but I mean, just mile-high view, it was already under home rule by the time you were elected to controller. But do you feel that this, say, if home rule were abolished in a couple of years, and your last year as controller would be under the more standard form of government, how do you feel that would change the job?
Well, it would change a lot because then accounts payable and everything would be back in the controller's office. And then you would have, you would have more control on what's going, being paid, and the payments being on with, the timely manner of them. But the way the charter is now, the controller, I would say, if you said, it's like the title doesn't fit the controller right now. The title of the controller does not fit. The title says controller, but really the controller is a head auditor.
You said something about when comparing
Other counties?
your county position to the state auditor general, that the state auditor general obviously had a bigger staff and what have you. And you kind of modeled what you do to what the state auditor general does. What are some of the advantages that are at the state level that you would like to see on the county level?
Well, I would just say, like, they put in place of any kind of fines or fees, or it would just be more, and I wouldn't want it doesn't have to be that way, but just that you have, more of an issue to get it done and it's going to be corrected, and, you can move forward and you don't have to keep on doing that same audit over and over again until it's done the proper way. Otherwise, I mean, it doesn't have to be ever changed. I mean, it doesn't really sound right when you're doing a job and you're there doing all the research, and then you have these findings, and then it turns out that nothing's going to be done with the findings. It's frustrating.
Can you cite any examples of findings from your office that the county administration has failed to implement?
No, right now, no. I would say pretty much everything that we had done and we had suggested, everyone was very willing to look into. And then some of them even changed places. There was one, and I can't remember the detail of it, but it was something with the courts actually we did. Not the courts itself, because we can't, that's all state funding, but it was something with, I think, it was the restitution fees. Like now that's like, it's more in place and it's coming in more, and I don't remember the detail of that one, but that was it too. But that was one that was, and I had one of my staff members just came over to me just the other day to say that it's really working really well.